it, and it's now called Modesty's Money Masterclass. And this is the first episode we're doing after the rebranding, and today we're going to deliver the first episode after rebranding it as Modesty's Money Masterclass. And this is our educational. This is episode 26 of educational series one day that focuses on financial and business education for everyone who is interested in learning. Now, the reason we rebranded it and we're now calling it Modesty's Money Masterclass is to give it a clearer sense of purpose and direction, and so that you can also follow us keenly on what we are trying to deliver. So we are focusing on money because all the topics we've been delivering in the past centers around finance and business. So we deliver financial and business education, and these things, all of them revolve around money. So we just wanted to make money the centerpiece of our educational series every Monday. So, and in this rebranded version of this educational series, we want to focus on three key aspects around money, which is making it, mastering it, and managing it. So the content we are going to be bringing to you will be centered around those three key components of money: making it, mastering it, and managing it, which we think if we can deliver these contents and these values and this educational influence on you, it will help you go a long way in making life better for yourself and for myself. And remember, I am not coming across to you as somebody who has reached the peak of what he's trying to achieve. I'm still coming across to you as someone who is embarking on a journey together with you. So this is a journey we're all embarking together. We're all learning. I'm learning from you. You're learning from me. We're all teaching ourselves. So I just felt that, we needed to give it a clearer sense of purpose, and we needed to give it a laser focus, picture, so that we can really focus and concentrate on the things we want to deliver. I hope that works for you, and I hope you still, come on board with us, and let's embark on this journey together. All right. So I remain your person, Ikenna Umezinike. I remain the director of Modesty's Financial Consultants Limited, based in Luton in the United Kingdom. We specialize in offering financial advice. We specialize in offering mortgage advice and financial consulting services. So this is episode 26. And like I said, this is the first episode after the rebranding of Modesty's Monday Motivation, which is now called Modesty's Money Masterclass, still abbreviated as MMM. Okay, so I've got a very important topic that I want us to look at today, which is really something that a lot of people have ignored over time, and a lot of people don't pay enough attention to it. But I want to draw your attention to it and let you understand how very important this is. Now, I have titled this topic today, the personal and family protection fundamentals. Personal and family protection fundamentals. Now, I am simply talking about personal and family life insurance policy. That's what I mean by protection. We call it protection policies here. We call it protection efforts here. So it's life insurance, it's personal and life insurance, personal life insurance, and family protection that I want to talk about today. You see, when we talk about the family, a lot of people say, oh, family is everything. Family is everything. You don't just say it with your mouth. It has to show in the way you treat family. And the way you treat family goes beyond what you do for family while you are still able and alive. It goes beyond that. Legacies that you leave behind for your family is as important as the things you do for them when you're alive. But then people just think that, these protection policies only serve the purpose of, people who survive, your beneficiaries when you're no longer there. But you're not aware that there are certain, protection policies that really serve you when you're still alive. And we're going to talk about all of them today. But I want to focus on the family. The family is such an important unit that everything we do centers around building a stable, solid, happy family now and beyond. Now, I was watching a movie with my family over the weekend. We're watching a movie. This movie was titled Breaking In on Netflix. So it was about a woman who went on a holiday, maybe I think it was their second home or something, with her two children. And as they got into that house, she started noticing that a few things, don't add up anymore because they've not been there for some time. So it happened to be that some men, broke into the house. While she was outside, on the very day they arrived, some men broke into the house and they kidnapped two of his children and they kept them in there. And she managed to be outside, and one of the men came to attack her. She ran into the, bush nearby, and a fight ensued between herself and this man, and she managed to conquer this man. But there were still three of the kidnappers inside the house, and her two children in there. Now, to cut the long story short, she had two options: either run away, leave the children there, run for safety, and at least save her life, and maybe try and see if she can gather help elsewhere. But there were no houses around there, and she couldn't leave her children in that house. She had to take the risk, find her way into that house, and fought off three kidnappers. And the long story cut short is that she eventually, saved her two children and fought off those kidnappers, and they emerged, with their lives and their health intact, even though with bruises. But if you watch the movie in full, you will admire the bravery of this woman and the desperation to save her children. She put her life on the line. She risked everything she had to save those two children. And I was telling my children, I said, this is just like a mother hen. If you want to know how aggressive a mother hen is, touch the chicks, and you will see how aggressive the mother hen is. Growing up in Africa, we know them mother hen, when they hatch their eggs and they are traveling with their chicks, if you dare touch one of them, that mother hen will chase you into the tiniest of holes until you let go of her chicks. That's how jealous, how possessive, how protective they are. That's what I mean about family. You can do everything. You can do anything for family. So if that is your mindset about family, it is with that mindset that I want to talk to you about family protection today, about life and family protection. So what do I mean by, family protection? It is simply an insurance policy that you have put in place to look after your family in the event of any risks happening. And one of such risks is either death, accident, unemployment, or illness. Okay? Any of these things gravely affects your family negatively. And if you do not put mechanisms in place, if you do not put policies in place, if you do not put machineries in place, if you don't set things up to ease the pain, the suffering, and the burden on your family, if any of these risks occur, then you are not really being fair to the family. So family protection is simply an insurance policy, a life insurance policy put in place to ameliorate or lessen the burden of the loss or the risk that has occurred to you, the policy holder. Okay, so this family protection or family insurance or life insurance is not really aimed at preventing any of these risks from occurring. The risk of death, illness, accidents, or unemployment. It's not meant to prevent them from occurring because these risks can basically occur. Yeah. But then when they occur, the impact it's having on your family, that is what this policy is helping to relieve the family and reduce the impact it's having on the family, to soften it. So because the family would have suffered enough having to deal maybe with bereavement, or having to deal with you being ill, or having to deal with you being unemployed, or having to deal with, some of these risks occurring. The suffering is enough. But then to cushion the effects of that suffering, that is what life insurance does. It does not stop you from dying. It does not stop you from getting accidents. It does not stop you from losing your job. It simply makes life more comfortable for your family when any of these risks occur. remember, there are risks. And those risks, there is no guarantee that those risks will not occur. And there is no guarantee that they will occur anyway. But then, why take the chance? Now, in the course of my interaction and my conversation with some people, especially people from the Black and ethnic minority groups, the Blacks, the Caribbeans, Africans, Asians, I have had conversations with them around life insurance. And several misconceptions and misunderstandings have been thrown up in the course of that conversation. I'm going to go through some of those misconceptions and we're just going to talk about them briefly. One of those is that, the premiums we pay to life insurance companies are a waste, and that they are not worth it because you just keep paying money and keep paying money and keep paying money. And if nothing happens, then the money is gone. The insurance company takes the money and you get nothing back. Fine. I agree with you that there is a chance that, you pay all this money and nothing happens and then you get nothing back. That is the assumption you're making. Have you thought about something happening? What if something happens? The money you are paying is for protection. Okay? It's for the event of that risk occurring. You do not have to wait for the risk to occur before you start protecting yourself. Because when the risk occurs, at that point in time, you are unable to protect yourself. Meanwhile, you are transferring the risk to the insurance company by paying those premiums. So they are rendering you a service by covering you for the risk that you have covered, that you have paid for. They are assuming the burden of paying this lump sum or this instrumental payment to your family or to yourself in the event of that risk happening. So the insurance company takes that burden from more than one person. So maybe in a particular policy pool, say 1 million people buy life insurance and they're paying 10 pounds every month into it. That's a 10 million pound pool. The insurance company takes, by actuarial science, they calculate how many people actually make claims in a year. And then they set aside a certain amount of money to settle those claims when they happen, and the rest they invest. They're a business. Now, what if they set aside, money for, let's say, 1% of these people making claim, or 2-3% of people making claim out of that 1 million people? What if you belong to that 1-3% of people who are going to be affected? So if you're paying like 10 pounds a month, for example, for say 100,000 pounds worth of life insurance, and you pay that premium for 3 months, and something happens to you, the insurance company will pay your family 100,000 pounds. Meanwhile, you've only paid 30 pounds into that insurance pot after they've accepted you. So who now bears the risk? You have only paid 30 pounds, and then your family is enjoying 100,000 pounds payout because you have taken that policy. So saying that the premium is a waste is not the right way to say it. See the premium as part of your family budget. Yeah, it's part of your family expenses. Build it into your family budget that every month is part of the bill you pay. Your insurance, your electricity bill, your gas bill, your council tax bill, your rent, your mortgage, life insurance should be part of it. What about the policy, the premium you're paying out to car insurance companies? So you can afford to insure your car, which is a non-living item. And then you that is making the money to insure the car, you do not value yourself enough to get enough protection for yourself. Some of us, even we have comprehensive car insurance package for our cars. Doesn't mean you value the car more than your life. You are the one who owns the car. It is you who works to earn the money to pay for the car. Why would you not care about your family enough to budget these amounts for your life protection and your life insurance for family protection? If you are no longer there, can you imagine what the family will be going through without you being available to take care of the things that you need to take care of? So when you say that the premiums you're paying to life insurance is a waste, no. What you are doing is that you are paying for a service that you do not know when you will receive it. Because when you will receive the value, you will not be able to pay for it. So it's as simple as that. Because at the time the risk is occurring, you will not be able to pay for it. So why would you want to take that chance. The money you are paying, the premium you are paying to the life insurance company is not a waste. It is part of your family expenditure. That's the right way to say it. The other misconception that has come up during our conversation is that some people say, I'm too young to think of death. Now, let me tell you, the younger you are, the better the chance you have of getting a more cover for less premium. So the younger you are, the better it is for you to take out a premium there. Because once you take out that premium and you not cancel it, you can pay that same amount for as long as that premium, as that policy lasts. So if you take out that amount, imagine being, say, 25, and you take out a life insurance. And because of your age, because you are still young, you might be able to get, maybe, for example, you get £500,000 cover for, say, just £20. £20 for £500,000 cover, and you stick to it and you keep paying, because it won't change. As long as you keep renewing, as long as you keep paying that premium, the policy remains intact. So if anything happens, because you have that opportunity, why don't you grab it? So rather than using your age as an excuse not to buy life insurance, use it as an excuse to buy it, because that is where you're going to get it cheapest. The older you get, the more expensive it becomes for you. Now, the other misconception I have come across is that people attach religion to the relevance of life insurance. Oh, I'm a religious person. I go to church. I believe in God. My God protects me. He sends his angels to keep watch over me, and they will never allow me to hit my foot against a stone. The blood of Jesus covers me. I am a Christian as well. I'm a practicing Christian. Okay? But that does not absolve you of your responsibility of being responsible enough to buy life insurance for yourself and for your loved ones. Because it's not about you. It's about your loved ones. It's about your family. If you value your family so much and you love them so much like you profess, then life insurance is one of the least things that you can even do to show that love. You can do more for them, but why would you think about it twice even? To get a life insurance to protect the people you claim to love so much. We have seen priests die. We have seen bishops die. We have seen men of God die. We have seen very religious and pious people die. No matter your religion, no matter how faithful, no matter how spiritual you are, it doesn't take away the fact that risk is real. And the risk of dying, and the risk of getting ill, and the risk of being involved in an accident is very much out there. So these things are real. They are life realities. God did not create the world without risks. So, but when these risks happen, it is your responsibility to make sure that there's enough provision for your family to be taken care of in the event that any of these risks happen. So the issue of being religious or being spiritual, being a Christian or Muslim or whatever your faith is, and because of that, you leave your family hanging in the balance. It is very, very risky, and it's not really worth it. So basically, whatever your faith is, your faith can accommodate life insurance. Life insurance doesn't invalidate your faith. It strengthens your faith because it simply means that you worship God and you're realistic about life. Because life is full of risks and dangers. Okay, so the other misconception I just wanted to look at is people saying, look, I'm single, there's no family for me to protect. You are single, yes. But what about yourself? There are protection policies that don't just look after families that you leave behind. They look after you while you're still alive. We're going to look at some of those protection policies. Besides, when you're no longer there, doesn't mean that nobody's going to miss you. You don't have anybody at all. Does it mean that nobody's going to take care of your funeral if anything happens to you? If you're sick, is there nobody who's going to be looking after you if you fall ill? So that you're single and you think the family is not just about your wife and your children or your husband or your children or your immediate family. It's about whoever. It's about whoever is around you that's going to be impacted by any of these risks happening to you. If anybody is going to feel the impact of this risk on happening to you, that person is worth taking into consideration. And because of that person, take that life insurance. Sadly, I wrote on my Facebook of a very good friend of mine that I lost sometime in March. Not just a friend, he's like a brother to me because he works in my office. We work together. So I see him physically every day. He helps me manage some of the properties that we manage, and he's the facilities person that looks after those properties and the facilities in there. And then all of a sudden, he was rushed to the hospital and then he died. It was shocking to me. A young man who is not even married, no children. But do you know what? He's from Africa and he died here. But there are financial implications regarding his burial. Assuming the family wants to transport him back home from the UK, it will cost them a lot of money. So because it's going to cost them a lot of money, will they not do it? Okay. Assuming they want to do it in a way where it will be cost effective for them and they decide to bury him in the UK, they are still going to pay funeral costs. It costs money. And then they will still have to transport his items from UK down to Uganda and all the rest of them. So there are financial implications. So your family is bereaved. Your family is grieving. It's enough to lose a soul, a dear one. But if you put an insurance policy in place such that it will kind of alleviate that suffering, the burden, at least they won't have to think about the financial implications of your loss. Let them just grieve in peace, knowing fully well that you've put things and machineries in place to look after yourself. I'm using this, my very good friend, as an example. I am not saying he didn't have life insurance, but I'm just saying, for those who think that being single and not being married is an excuse for them not to think about death, single people do die. And the death of single people affects their families as well. There are financial implications for that. So as long as there is someone around you who's going to feel the impact of your loss, that person alone is worth the reason for you to go out there and take out a proper protection policy that will be suitable for what you wanted to achieve. Okay, so these misconceptions are things that I just want to address because I have come across a lot of people that I talk to and they raise these things, and I do as much as I can to educate them that look, these things are not the way you see them. There is a need for us to change our views around life insurance and protection policies. The fact that you think it's only about those who you are going to leave behind. Oh, I'm not going to enjoy this money. It's people who are going to be, alive that are going to enjoy it. So why should I bother myself? That is selfishness. I mean, I don't have any other way of describing it. It's sheer selfishness. How can you be so selfish that you think that life insurance policy, because you're not going to be the one who's going to benefit from it, there is no point you doing it. What about your family? What about the people you love? When I sit around my living room and I watch my movies and I watch things with my family and everyone sits around, it gives me that, it gives me goosebumps sometimes. The way God brings individuals, people together. First of all, two strangers come together to become husband and wife. And all of a sudden, they are seeing themselves as one body. They do things together and they consider themselves inseparable in some way. And then all of a sudden, those two begin to multiply and the family starts to grow. And then you see the blood coming together and binding these people and these individuals together. That is amazing. But as amazing as it looks and as amazing as it sounds, how would you feel sitting there? Maybe you are no longer there and then your family is going through this trauma, going through this stress, going through all these, horrible situations, having to clear the mess that you left behind. Some people leave behind legacies, some leave behind the mess. And the mess they leave behind might even include the debts that they are owing. So when you take out life insurance, it's not just about your family having to, look after themselves. It's also having to look after your liabilities. The monies you are owing, the financial commitments you made. If you're no longer there, these financial commitments, some of them still have to be met. And who's going to meet them? Your family. If you've got a mortgage, those mortgages still have to be paid. If you live in a rented apartment, those rents still have to be paid. Your family still has to feed. Your family still have to keep themselves warm or cold when they need to. They still need electricity to, facilitate the things they want to do in the house. Your children still have to go to school. It might even be that maybe you are the breadwinner, and your wife might be so occupied with the children that she might not even be able to work. But if you left enough for her to be able to look after the children and take care of the home and set up something that she can be doing on her own to enable her juggle between work and life and make life easy for her, you have done enough. All right. So, and then beyond these realities that we are talking about, there are policies that will enable you, make life easy for you even when you are still alive. So it's not always about death. When we talk about family protection, we're not just asking you to do something for your family when you are no longer there. We're asking you to do something even for yourself that will make life easy and comfortable for you when life eventualities hit you. When the realities of life come calling that you're not prepared for. For example, look at what's happening around the world today. Coronavirus. Have you looked at the death rates of coronavirus? Have you looked at the number of people in the UK alone? There are over 16,000 people who have died in the UK. How, if we are to take, percentage of these 16,000 people, how many of them have life insurance before they died? A lot of them did not expect to be hit by coronavirus. A lot of them did not expect to die as young as they did. A lot of them did not expect their life to end in this year. Some of them might have even had the same mentality that some are still having now, that, oh, I'm a Christian, nothing will ever happen to me. Oh, I'm too young, nothing will ever happen to me. Oh, I don't like talking about death. That's one other thing I come across every time. I don't like talking about death. I was talking to somebody some time ago, and this person said to me, when I was just using the person, I said, just imagine you die today and then your family starts. He said, no, don't use me as an example. Don't refer to me as just imagine you die. Don't use me as an example, because, just use a random person so that I don't want to imagine that you're talking about me. And I laughed and I said, listen, I would rather use you as an example, because that is when it hits home. If I don't use you as an example, you will not understand the reality of what I'm talking about. You will think I'm talking about somebody else and something else, and the reality will not hit home. So I would rather say, when I'm talking to you, imagine you die today, because you cannot guarantee that you will walk out of this place and you won't be knocked down by a car on the road. You cannot guarantee me that you walk out of this place tomorrow, you won't develop heart attack and die suddenly. You cannot guarantee that you will walk out of this place today and you will not sleep on your bathroom, bang your head on the bathtub, and that's the end of it. So many risks that we live with every single day that could potentially lead to death. But people don't like imagining that. Nobody is imagining. It's not wishing you that. It's simply putting your house in order. If you put your house in order, you go home and you sleep well, knowing the fact that you have put your house in order. A lot of people who died of COVID-19 at this time did not put their houses in order. Their families will have to pick up the pieces of their mortgages, of their rents, of the loans they took that they have not repaid, of the credit card bills that they have not repaid. Because these things, when you don't do them, if they are secured loans, maybe loans secured against your home will be repossessed. Your family will become homeless. Your children will become homeless. The state will have to find a way of supporting them. They might be living a standard of life that you would not imagine that they will live if you were alive, simply because you did not put your house in order. Okay, so that's basically what the message I want to drive home today. So I want to use this, today's episode to lay the foundation for this topic, because I'm going to continue this next week. And then next week, when we continue, I'm going to talk more about different types of life insurance and life policies that you can take and how they serve you and how they work and their importance and their benefits to you and how you can fashion them around to suit your individual circumstances. Because people's circumstances are different. There are different things you have to consider before you make a decision on your life insurance or life policy. So, but I just wanted to lay the foundation today to say, hey, this is why we need to do this. And so you go home, think about yourself, think about your family, think about the people around you, and think about how you've been able to put things in order. Because by next week, we're going to be going into more details about around, family protection fundamentals. And then I'm going to be talking more about the policies that you can actually benefit from while you are still alive and how those policies work. All right, folks, I hope you've enjoyed today's episode and I hope it's been very useful to you. And I look forward to seeing you again next week when we continue this series on the personal and family protection fundamentals and we go into more details. But before then, please stay safe and please stay at home when you can. Coronavirus is real, it kills and it destroys lives. To save life, stay at home and stay safe. God bless you all, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. Take care and goodbye.